Welcome everyone to the podcast. Thank you so much as always for joining me. I hope you've had a wonderful holiday season. I hope you're still celebrating in the energy and the new energy, because today we're going to talk about the January energy update. And this is a really good one. I think all of them are great because I'm always excited to see what the insights are. But we have a really neat, strong start to January. And so it'll be really interesting to see how all of you are feeling about your own journeys and your own energy stepping into this new year. And so I have 6 different points that Spirit brought through for me to share with all of you about this month. But before we start that, let's start with the fact that January is bringing us into a number 9 year. And so 9 in numerology is all about, closures, endings, reprieve, releases that make way for new beginnings, right? So this is a real tie-up year, but I want to say what I'm getting right now is we're going to see more tie-ups on the collective, because a lot of the emphasis for the individual is that those tie-ups already happened in 2024. Those tie-ups were completed for the individual so that the collective energy was strong for these endings and so on. So I feel like, depending on where you are, Spirit is saying saturated, but I would say where more of your focus is will determine how you perceive these endings or new beginnings. Because again, 9 also is that juncture point for new beginnings too. So I also feel this new beginning energy that's really, really strong. And so let's start with the very first point that Spirit brought up, which is disclosure continues. Disclosure continues. Now, if you're curious about the concepts of the drones and all of that, I definitely encourage you to check out my last podcast, which was about the drones and channeled info about that. Now, the reason why Spirit is saying disclosure continues is because we are really stepping into this new energy this year of, a release of false narratives. And the way to do that is to disclose or have us see or witness things that cannot be explained. And to do a little recap on that, a couple weeks ago, I shared a channeled message from one of the Anunnaki. And it was Enki, or also known as Ea, who is one of the sons of the Anunnaki god, if you will, Anu. And Enki, or Ea, depending how what line you follow, Enki and his brother Enlil were 2 kind of opposing characters in this experience, this story. Enlil was the regent of Earth. However, he wanted to have Earth as a control factor. He wanted to have humans as slaves. Enki wanted humans to grow in consciousness. And so it is said that Enki, added within the DNA of humans when he came to help bring consciousness, he put in the capacity for growth in consciousness and awakening. Enlil didn't like that. Enlil liked the idea of just kind of like worker beehive mentality. And so as humans started to grow in their consciousness, there became this big kind of battle between the control factors and conscious awakening. Now I'm really, really condensing this story into like very finite bullet points. The thing is now the emphasis of Enlil has been pulled from our planet. And what remains now is just the humans that still like to follow that. There's no external influence from ETs, from higher races with the negative. Now the influence that we have is actually a big support of the positives from the Galactic Federation, the Anunnaki, including Enki, Ea, as well as the Cedar Race. Now, Enki has come back to help bring in consciousness, bring in this awakening, help this big shift of awakening. And that was the channel that I had brought through. And in that channel, he had said that one example of the threatening of nuclear power forces being used against one country or another is just no longer acceptable. It is not tolerated in the galactic level, because those kinds of threats, although they're not in our soul path as a collective, those kinds of threats can get out of hand. And so they're stepping in, they're stepping down, and I mean those from the galactics are stepping down to intervene where needed. And also, he said, help parent those that are in positions of power to do really nefarious things. This is also part of why we are seeing the various orbs, not the drones. The drones are very man-made. Again, I talked about that in the podcast last week, but we're seeing these orbs. And these orbs, as well as some other ET craft, are those of the Galactic Federation and as well the Cedar Race. And the Cedar Race is this ancient race of apparently 24 different races. And I was able to talk to one of them from the Cedars when I had my surgery in the summer. And when I had that conversation with them, it was very interesting to see the love and compassion that they have for the evolution of humans on Earth and how much they desire to help humans. And so with all of that being said, and again, I've talked about this in Cosmic Consciousness, I've talked about this in podcast. The reason why I'm bringing this all up right now is because this disclosure is continuing. And in January, we're going to see yet another layer of disclosure, another layer of truth being revealed, so that the confusion narratives being played by those on Earth right now, those in positions of power, governments that are trying to confuse the narrative of what these drones or orbs are. They're trying to, put it all into one thing as a drone when it's not. There are multiple things in the skies. And by the Galactic Federation, the Intergalactic Council, and the Cedar Races showing their presence with their different crafts, their different orbs, their different technology, it is making it so that we can no longer hide in ignorance. That's why they're showing themselves in the sky, and that's why they're just kind of hovering in the sky, so that people see it, so that people question, so that people get curious, and it sparks that thing in the mind that has the capacity to open up consciousness in those that have not yet done so. And sometimes that can instill a fear, but for some people it's a fear, but it brings in such a curiosity, they want to know more. And so we're going to see this continue. I do get a sense that not only are we going to see this continue in the skies, but we're also going to have more mainstream coverage of people that know about this, that know what it is, people talking about it. There's going to be different mediums, intuitives, channelers like myself talking about the insights that they're getting from their own galactic councils. But I'm also seeing people in different positions of power, of maybe more like traditional structured power, speaking of the validity of it. And I can compare, we saw a little bit of that when we heard of different military people coming forward from different countries validating the presence of ETs, and then validating the presence of ET craft, and so on. We're going to see more of that coming from that angle, as well as more channeled insight, information, even direct communication information from ETs to different people who can share it. And so what's really interesting with this is there's a big smile from my council when I talk about this, because they're saying this is something that is long overdue and people are ready for it now, whether they think they are or not. There is enough of the collective right now that has opened up their consciousness to be able to make way for this tipping point of information. So 2025 is going to be a very revolutionary year for this whole disclosure of our galactic brothers and sisters, if you will, or friends in the galaxy. And essentially it's all to bring humanity up to that level of galactic communication as well, where we step into that higher level. They'd called it the galactic market, but what they meant is like that level of consciousness where we're no longer ignorant thinking we're just simply a global community. We become a part of the galactic community. So we're going to see more of that coming in. And again, I really encourage all of you to just sit in the energy of your heart as you absorb the information or what you see, because there's no threat from what we're seeing in the skies. All right, my next point kind of leads in from this first point, but also it kind of takes another turn. And Spirit said that we would see the exposure of false narratives. And they said more specifically political. So we're going to start to see the crumbling of political false narratives. They didn't give me details as to who this is specifically. However, they did show me like the planet, And they showed me different highlighting points in different countries. So to me, this tells me that there's multiple layers, multiple governments, multiple political parties, that we will see the cracks in them and some will crumble as well, exposing the false narratives. Now, I know that, in December we have seen some, like Germany and France, their governments collapsed, but I'm talking about more specifically the false narratives, the truths of the stories we've been told coming to the surface. And it's really because it's shaking the foundation of those governments. So not just the political structure, but the energetic belief system that has been created around them is crumbling for the collective to see the truth. And some of these truths will have like a disappointing tone to it, like, oh man, really? However, other truths will actually have a positive tone to it as well, in a sense that it would give us the feeling of like, oh, I didn't realize the government knew about it. I didn't realize that was part of their purpose in trying to help. So it's not all negative. If we only throw a negative blanket on this, we're missing the point. There's duality within government as well. So we're going to see these exposures of these false narratives too. Hold on, they're just mentioning something. We will see North America, South America, and within the continent of Africa more specifically. That's very interesting. Okay, moving on to number 3. They said there will be a big increase in cosmic gateways opening for higher communication for individuals. Now, they had mentioned something like this in December, that people would be able to communicate better with their guides, like higher spirit communication. But they showed me actually almost like these portal doors, like these doorways opened. If you opened a door and outside that door was the galaxy, was space, and you could like step into space and travel to where you wanted to go, that's kind of the energy. Now, whether we have the capacity to take that as a full-on astral travel, or maybe a remote viewing to another time or place in space, or if it is simply opening a door of communication and connection intuitively, perhaps telepathically, it is all of those and more. And for some people, it's even opening up a jump gate, which is really interesting. They're just mentioning this right now. Some people will have the capacity to actually move through time and space in a physical way. And I'm thinking right now, can I please be one of those people? I don't know. But that's really interesting. So again, there's a wide variety of how it'll show itself, from actual jump gates for some people to intuitive communication. And it all really depends on where you are in your frequency, your body frequency, what your body can handle, as well as your purpose. You know, people have different purposes on the planet. For some, it's to be a strong intuitive force in your family. For others, it's to bring in galactic information. For others, it's to, channel deceased loved ones. For others, it's to create new technologies. I mean, there's so many things. That's why it's such a broad kind of emphasis that they're trying to express here. Now, I was just asking them too, I was like, does this have anything to do with the doors that were opened in the Vatican? Because that just popped into my mind. And they said yes and no. They're saying yes and no. And so I'm just asking, how does that work? How is that a yes and no? And they're saying the doors in the Vatican are not specific to these cosmic gateways that are opening, but the energy is the same idea. And so with a lot of people being curious, being interested, creating an energy around these Vatican doors that are being opened, the energy of that helps create the energy for these cosmic gateways to open, but the Vatican doors are not the same as these cosmic gateways, which is why he's like yes and no. That's interesting. They're also saying that these cosmic doorways are actually very natural things. And they're showing it to me like when you're in like kindergarten or grade 1 and you're playing on the playground, usually the fences around the school are closed because you're meant to be kept in. It is for your safety to be kept into that playground. Once you've graduated, right? Say you've graduated grade 12, you do not need to be kept in those fences by any means. Those fences are wide open for you to move forward and expand in the world. it's that same sort of idea of what's happening now, is these fences that have been around our consciousness, our access, if you will, our reach, what we thought we could reach, is expanding and opening. So if we thought before our big reach was to play on the playground, which when you're in kindergarten is a big deal, that playground is like a whole world. But now we realize the playground is just one little stepping stone and the whole world is really out there beyond that fence. That's what these cosmic gateways are allowing us more access to. Again, it's us stepping into this galactic level of consciousness and conscious awareness. So these openings with these gateways are really for access, is what Spirit is saying. Greater access to knowledge, information, and travel in some ways. So I'm very curious to see what unfolds with that as well. Okay, the next one is number 4, is a bold step for the divine masculine, big downloads of consciousness. So this is really interesting. Now, when I say divine masculine, I'm not talking about men versus women, all right? We all carry divine masculine energy and divine feminine energy within us. We express one more than the other sometimes not. There's no one right way. But when they say big downloads of consciousness for the divine masculine, for those that have been really rooted or stuck in their masculine energy, but it has been the older version, the limited version, the version of patriarchy maybe, the version of sitting only in left brain, not in right brain, right? Right brain is our creative, spiritual, expressive brain, which has a way greater capacity. And the left brain is our linear, logical, known brain, which has actually a smaller capacity. What happens now is that with this greater step up of the divine masculine, like Spirit had talked about last month or in Cosmic Consciousness in December, Spirit talked about how they now have this ability, because of this tipping point I was talking about in the beginning, they now have an ability to kind of help move things along for us in some areas that are a little bit stuck. So for example, if you have this aspect of divine masculine within you that is really, really stuck and you just can't move it, they have a better ability to kind of come in and help sort of shove it a little bit, move it along. Instead of just kind of waiting and inspiring, they have an ability to use more energy to help move it through, to make space for more divine masculine downloads. And these divine masculine downloads are, being able to be in a position of action and potential and clear choice and all of these kind of like masculine principles, again, not men versus women, but these action principles to be put into motion with divinity. And the divinity is that higher consciousness, is that ability to hold a firm energy but still carry vulnerability, to make a decision and act on it, but this decision is based on the greater collective good, not the old frequency of personal gain. Again, I'm just trying to use examples. So what we're going to see with this is a bigger shift in those that are heavy in the energy of masculine into their divine masculine form. So big transformation underway for that. And we're going to see that. We're going to see this softening, this opening, this awakening of consciousness. So for a lot of you that are paired with a very strong masculine energy, be that a man or a woman or however someone identifies, you will start to notice this transformation into a higher level frequency of their embodiment through conversation, through maybe the things that they're interested in, through the way they communicate, what they find value in the world now. So there's a big, big shift in this, and I find this to be really, really interesting. So big download of consciousness. Now, number 5 is a tangible new frequency felt in the body. This is really neat. So Spirit said, 2024 was about the body coming online and really having to go through a lot. I mean, those of you that have followed my story, I had to go through a ton in 2024 for my body. And now in 2025, it's this new frequency that is like made its home in the body. It is here for many of you. And there's still some that are kind of, there's some that are ahead of the pack, some that are trailing a little bit behind, a big majority that is here, okay? And they said the way in which you might experience this is you will feel tingles. You might feel tingles in your body that are different than before. You might feel this overall sense of relief move through your body where maybe you held more tension. You will feel this new energy kind of come up as well. And they said the big thing to notice with this is it will take some time to get to know the new energy frequency. It's not just an instant, aha, here we are, it's perfect. You actually have to get to know it. And within this getting to know it, there'll be this play between action and rest, because as your body adjusts to this new frequency, it has to adjust to how it needs to support the frequency through food, through water, through rest, right? So you might notice again your food preferences changing, or the amount of food changing, or your water, or whatever. Your body is adjusting to this new energy, but it's like the new energy is here. And so it is felt on the more positive side versus the negative side, okay? 2024 was a big, heavy hit for the body. 2025 is more the adjustment phase for the body. So they said, be really willing to embrace the rest and move cycles while being very intuitively connected to your body. Ask your body what it wants. What does it need? How can you support your body? That kind of stuff. And then my number 6 point, Spirit said, for January. And again, this is a big start to January. They said, you will receive, you will feel, and you will embody more clarity in your direction. They said, purpose is expanding from within all of you. And that's the thing. Purpose is expanding from within. That's the point I want to reference and really emphasize in this concept of clarity on your direction is going to come from within. Because when you're truly on your soul journey, you're living from that energy within. And Spirit always said, the gateway to anything spirit consciousness is through the energy of the heart portal, the heart chakra. You go within to expand out. And so what's beautiful is this purpose that is coming through you because of your deepening of your soul connection is coming through you, through that heart space, and expanding from within to reach outside of you. And that expansion is bringing in the clarity of what you want, the clarity of where you want to go, what you want to focus on, what your direction is, what you need in your life, how you want to live your life. Because there's no way we could have gone through 2020 all the way even through to 2024 and not be transformed in some form. If you all think about who you were back in 2019, December 2019, and you think of who you are now, I would imagine most of you listening to this are like, yeah, I have transformed a lot. I have grown a lot. I have changed views on this. I have this, that, or whatever. You have transformed. And because of that, you get to bring this new expanded version of you through and out into your reality as you help create your new reality by your manifestation, by your feeling, by your embodiment, all of the things. Spirit has been leading us through it since 2020 and of course long before, but specifically on my journey on social media platforms and the podcast since 2020 has been to lead us through to this point now. And so that's why 2025, although there is a lot coming down the pipe in 2025, and next week I will be posting a really neat astrological outlook on the year with two of my favorite astrologers, Kitty Foss and Shannon Takis. We're going to deep dive into it to set all of you up with what you need to know astrologically speaking. It's a big year. Lots going on. However, your perspective will dictate whether you feel empowered by this year or completely agitated by this year. It is ultimately your choice. And again, that's something I talked about in Cosmic Consciousness in December. So if you want to know about Spirit's insights, you can sign up for that and get your copy of that Cosmic Consciousness download because there's a lot in there. So with that being said, we are really moving into this very interesting year that has the capacity to anchor in you, your real you, your full you, the true you that has been waiting to be expressed is here. And so I really hope all of you can feel that energy and take it with you as you either do some manifestation practices, some intention setting, however you celebrate the newness of this year for you, make it intentional. So with that, I will leave that with all of you. Thank you so much as always for joining me for the energy updates. I appreciate it. Please do share this with anybody that you feel would help, and subscribe if you haven't already, or rate the podcast if you're listening on an audio platform. And I'm so grateful for all of you for joining me on this amazing journey. It is so much fun, and I'm honored to be able to bring insights. So thank you for you. Happy January 2025, everyone. May this be your best year yet.